Anthropos in Greek means man and logos means the word. So it's the word about man. It's a study about man. So this is actually the second session on anthropology. I don't know how many of you were here during the first session. Is there anybody who was not here for the first session? You are one, two, couple of people there. Yeah, I'll have a recap on it. Yes. As I said, anthropology is a study on man. You know, man is the only creation who will make himself the subject and the object of the study. You never see any animal studying about itself. I don't know even that study about the grass, the cow study about the grass. But definitely the cow never has come up with a study on cow. Man makes himself the object and he is the subject of the study. So that's an amazing piece of truth that tells us that man is a unique creation. Man has the capacity to study himself. In anthropology, we usually include the creation, the probation, the fall, and then the consequences of the fall. But seldom we come into salvation. Salvation is another subject altogether, soteriology. Because man does not do anything for his own salvation, it is all basically the work of God. So it cannot be included in anthropology. Hamartiology is another area, the doctrine of sin. Usually it is coupled with anthropology because after fall man has become a sinner. So if you keep sin away, there is not very much you can study about himself, you know. So the hamartiology is usually studied along with man, though some theologians will have hamartiology, the doctrine of sin, separate. In such cases, then anthropology will be restricted to the creation and the fall, the probation, the fall, and some of the consequences of the fall. But we plan to include hamartiology, the doctrine of sin, also along with anthropology. So actually anthropology is primarily concerned about sin because the period of sinlessness or innocency, as some will call it, it was comparatively very brief. Nobody knows how long it lasted. You know, if we keep away sin from anthropology, then very little is there for us to study. So anthropology, you know, includes hamartiology, and a good part of our study will be on hamartiology. The Westminster Confession, that is basically the confession of the Presbyterian Church, and it says God created man, male and female, with reasonable and immortal souls. That's a very pithy statement, very good statement. God created man, male and female, with reasonable and immortal soul. Reasonable means not the way we say, yeah, that's a reasonable thing. No, reasonable means the ability to reason, rational, you know, with a rational and immortal soul, you know. So theology, some of the words will have its own meaning. So God created man, male and female. That means the word man is not used, it's used for the kind, the species, not as a proper noun, but as a species noun. So God created man, male and female. Both were included in it. Man was created bisexual, and then God by surgery removed from man the woman. I don't mean to say that he divided the whole man, into half and then one half was made female. No. What we call the female was included in creation in the man, so that when God says in the beginning man, man, he meant both, the man and the woman. When we say man is a sinner, we don't say that women are not sinners. We mean that man and woman. So the word man is used generically, but the word woman is never used generically. If we say women are beautiful, we don't mean men are beautiful. We only apply that to the female part. So the word man has a generic or a species aspect. Genesis 1:27 supports the first part of the statement of the Westminster Confession that God created man and female. What does 1:27 says? Yeah, it's good for you to read that. Genesis 1:27.
So God created mankind in His own image. In the image of God He created them. Male and female He created.
So that particular version, whichever it is, it says mankind. But that's really not translation, that is interpretation, because that's what it means. But the word is simply anthropos, and that word can be translated only as man, though it means mankind, So, and then we read that male and female He created them. So, when God created mankind or man, He was talking about the species. But then verse 26 talks about the second part of what we said. God created man a reasonable and immortal soul. 1:26.
And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness.
Yes.
And let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth.
Yeah, the first part of the statement, let us make man in our own image, even in our likeness. So different from all the other creations God made, man alone is made in the likeness or in the image of God. So if we know something about God, we know God is an intelligent being. God is a personal being. He has personality. He is a spiritual being. So that image communicates that man is also created in that unique sense. And not in the same extent or the quantity, but the quality wise is the same. Personality, same, intelligence, reason, will, and all those things that God contains, man had in the miniature form. Because, an image could never be the same as the original. You stand in the mirror and you see your image. That image is different from you, but it has resemblance very close to you, But you can never say that image is me. You can say that image is of me, So man is never God, but man is, created from God or by God. So there are many things that are, similar. God is a person, God created man a person. God is spirit, and God created man with spirit. God is all-knowing, man has knowledge. God is all-powerful, man has power. All that goes with it. So there are many things that goes with it. So the Westminster Confession is very right when it says God created man male and female, because verse 27 says it. And with reasonable and immortal souls, because God is immortal and God is a rational being. So that's the way God created man. But then Genesis 2:7 throws more light into man. More light. There we read, God breathed into man the breath of life, and man became a living soul, Actually, the word souls is plural there. Man became living soul. So it says the spirit and the soul, both aspects are included in it. The breathing has brought not two separate things, but one thing that has a plural aspect in it. Yes. So it became a living soul. The body was made of earth and the spirit from God. For this reason, we read in Ecclesiastes 12:7, it's talking about the death of man, but an interesting statement. Then shall the dust return to the earth, because the body was taken from the earth, and the spirit shall return to God who gave it. So man's body was made from the earth, and God breathed into man the living soul, the breath of life. So that returns to God. So at death there is a decomposition of the two essential parts of man. Both return to its original, source. Yes. So God said to man, thou art soil and you shall return to soil. In Hindi for burial, what is the word? Mitti dena. That's the word. The mitti dena, mitti de diya. Returned to, gave it back to the earth. So the body belongs to. And amazingly, scientists say that our body contains basically every element the earth contains, all the iron and magnesium and what else not there, and zinc and everything is there in our body because it's taken from the earth. And our spirit, soul, contains everything that is contained, from the source. It has immortality, the eternality. It had the value system, the morality, the God consciousness, this ability to worship, and all those things that goes with the spirit, it contains. So it's an amazing, man is a very beautiful, creation, very beautiful creation. In Matthew 10:28, our Lord told the disciples that you be not afraid about human beings who can only kill your body, but fear God who can destroy both, in eternal hell. So don't be afraid of man. But even though the Lord said it, we are more afraid of men and least afraid of God. At least looking around the human beings, they are more afraid of human beings, fellow human beings, because they got guns and daggers. They think that God doesn't have guns and daggers. The fact is, he doesn't need guns and daggers. But man forgets that. So man was created bisexual. He said that he created the male and female. That means the idea of man is incomplete without man and woman. That's why the Lord said it is not good for man to be alone. Even though it's bisexual, that's not the good state. The two has to be separated and united again. After separation, the Lord said, for this reason they shall be one, because they were one before. But now they have independent existence. Before they didn't have the independent existence. So now God gave man and woman independent existence, but yet they are complementary. So God said they are not two, but they shall be one, a big one, of course, Yes. It's amazing and beautiful, right? Yes. Poet Milton said, two great sexes animate the world. How can you say it any more nicely? Milton in Paradise Lost said the two great sexes animate the world, the whole world. Angels were created sexless. They were all created by, I believe, the breath of God, by commanding, let the angels come into existence. And every one of them independently, And they were all, some say they were neuter, I don't know. I tend to think that they are all male. Because we don't call angels it, but it's usually he, The same way with God, we never call God it or she. It's always he loves us, For God so loved the world, he gave us, not it gave us or she gave us, Of course, now many feel that that's an injustice. So they have she Bible and it Bible. I don't know whether that will do any any fairness to God, Yes. He does not make any difference as long as there is not a she. All the problems of he comes when the she is there. So there is no female God. So, that's not a problem. God is a person. That's mainly what communicates, So angels don't have children ever born, Yes, they don't have maternity hospitals. Not having children avoid some troubles, but I don't know whether they are troubles or blessings. Some look as troubles, some look as blessings, I consider as a blessing, but then it's more important how my wife feels about it than how I feel, because I get the end result, I don't go through all the means. So that only the women go through. Yes. But it's true that, the body of man is of a different nature and the substance is a different nature, because body is made from matter and soul is made from non-material, because God breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living soul, nephesh, haya, a breath or soul of life. So according to Genesis 2:7, man is composed of a material part resulting from the vivification or the enlivening or the animation of the dust or the ground by the creative energy of God. And man has an immaterial part resulting from the spiration or the inbreathing of God. Amazing, isn't it? We must assume that the Creator first enlivened the inorganic matter into a body and then created a rational spirit, which he infused into the body. What we have in Genesis 2:7 is a summary statement of the creation. This fact is reiterated in other parts of the scripture, like Ecclesiastes 12:7, Luke 23:46, Acts 7:50, Genesis 49:33, Job 10:18, Job 11:20, Jeremiah 15:9. We are not going to go into those verses because we already did in the first class. But all those passages tell us that body and soul spirit are separate entities with separate destinations. On death, the body goes back to the earth and the spirit goes back to God, and then resurrection, the two come together, and for all eternity we will live together. That's amazing. But the rest of the biological life on the earth was created by a word. Genesis 1:21, 1:24 all tells us that God said, let the birds bring after it, and then it automatically, immediately they all came in. But for man alone, God said, let us make man in our image. As someone said, God's hand was soiled with dirt only when he made man. When he made all the animals, there was no dirt on his hand. And it is even more marvelous that God's hand became bloody when he wanted to save man. The soiled hand, yes, the dirt was washed away by the blood of the Creator, and our sin too was washed away. So the question people ask, how was man created? How was man created? There are three theories put forward by different people, depends upon what they believe. The first theory is called the pre-existence of man. The pre-existence of man. According to the pre-existence theory, all human soul or spirit existed before Genesis 1. God at some point in the past created multitudes of human souls. This happened much before Adam was created. Each human soul existed in an anti-mundane state and is united with a human body which is created by simple generation. So the theory is that, God just created the first body and then it began by generation. And these spirits that He created sometimes past, nobody knows when. And there are different theories about that too. And then one by one these souls will come and enter in the body that is, generated. So there is a human being. Interestingly, Plato, the great Greek philosopher, believed this theory. He speculated that human souls have intuitive knowledge of a pre-existent state. That's what he says. Human souls have this knowledge. Do you ever feel that your soul was existing before? So at least Plato's theory does not apply here. I never felt. Here. I never felt. Some people say that, they felt that. That's only when you feel your soul is older than your body. I often felt the other way, that my body is a little older than my soul because of the different sicknesses and, other things, yes. But there are sometimes I feel that maybe, the memory is part of the body or part of the soul. Is it in the follicles that you have in your brain where all the informations are stored? Is that where? Or only informations are stored there? It's the soul that takes it out and use it. I don't know. It's very interesting. Don't ask, because you will lose a little bit of your humanity if you think too much. You will end up in a mental hospital. There people will treat you differently. So don't think too much. Man is a thinking person. One of the philosophers said, I think therefore I am. I think therefore I am. Some will say, I eat therefore I am. And sometimes that is true too, But I think therefore I am. Some said, I feel therefore I am. It all depends upon what school of thought you belong to, I say, I think because I am. I think because I am. I feel because I am. And I eat because I am. Yes. To say the other way around is, it's an insult on the dignity of humanity. Yes. Because the person who for some reason is unconscious, will you say that he is not because he is not thinking now? Or he is not because he is not eating lunch now? No, you can't say that. So that doesn't make any sense, One of the earlier Christian scholars, Origen, he also espoused this Platonian theory, but he was never successful to establish it. Müller, a German theologian, tried to give this theory some credibility in a modified form. He did not teach an ante-temporal state of the soul, but a supra-temporal state of the soul. He taught that soul existed and the origin of sin occurred. He said the soul existed always. It never came into being. It is only the sin that came into being, Well, if you wanted to say that the soul existed in God, I still will have an argument with you, because it did not have independent existence as my soul. No. My soul never existed in God, in eternity. So, people teach many, many theories. The fall of man, according to Müller, was not in a time before time. That is, sometimes after time began. That's what time before time means. Sometimes after time began. But is timeless. Immanuel Kant also believed very similarly. He viewed sin always existing in space and time. Miller's theory is that of pre-existence. The ego of man is pre-existent though the body is propagated. Well, these are all wrong theories. The pre-existence theory confines the human species only to the body. That's the sad part. From parents only the body is given. Because the soul is pre-existing, parents have nothing to do with. But then the question is, how come I think like my father or mother? The same children of the same parents have artistic ability. The Ravivarma family in Mavelikara, they are known great painters of India. Many painters have come from that family. How come that? That's not a bodily feature, painting. It's of the inner man. So to say that God created some similar kind of spirit somewhere in the eternity past, and then only those spirits were allowed to enter into the body that these great artists have propagated, well, that's, you will not have too many buyers for it. You can try to sell it. Plato was not successful. Origen was not successful. And Immanuel Kant also, These are very great thinkers, Immanuel Kant was a great thinker, But Kant one day went to a park. As soon as the park opened in the 7 o'clock in the morning, he got inside the park and sat on a bench under the tree. And he sat there without moving, just sat there like that. And then 7 o'clock, the time came for the gates to be locked, and Kant was still sitting there. So the watchman went over there and said, "Sir, you have been sitting here from 7 o'clock in the morning. Who are you?" So he said, "That's what I have been thinking all day." Who am I? Well, sometimes it takes many days to find out who you are. For somebody like us, common people, it doesn't take that long. We find it out very, very fast, Yes, thank God. Yeah, sometimes these people are crazy. Of course, whatever they say is very intelligent because nobody else understands it. That's one intelligence things, If somebody else understands, then it's not intelligent. You say, hey, an ordinary person like me, I can understand it. So say something that nobody understands. Oh, so you are very intelligent. Yeah. The pre-existence theory confines the human species only to the body. The human body belongs to a common species, but the soul is purely individualistic. Man's soul is exactly like that of the angels, individually made sometimes in eternity past. The spirit was created prior to the sixth day. Human spirit has no ancestors. Well, we just don't accept that. We just don't accept that. The second theory is called creationism. Creationism. You know what that means? It's not the evolution creation, no, don't, if you think, it has nothing to do with evolution creation. Creationism is a theory that says the body comes from parents. For every body that is born, God creates a new spirit and put in it. So the spirit is not eternal, the spirit is created right then. And God realizes that, yeah, your wife is now conceived, so, God says, so I needed to create a spirit for this particular, body that is conceived in the womb. So God creates a new spirit and then put in it. And when put it, that depends upon what, theory you hold. Some say that immediately after the conception of the body, the spirit is given. Some say no, only when the body has independent existence. If for any reason the mother delivers, like 8th month or even 7th month, it won't survive itself, it needs to be kept in an incubator, when it can breathe itself and all that, that's the point they say that a spirit is put in it. Some say no, only after delivery, when the first baby cries, the spirit enter in, As soon as the baby cries, the new spirit goes in. Some say even not there, no, when the Mahabodhisa, those denominations which has the infant baptism, on the 8th day when the infant baptism water is poured on the baby, infused, the spirit comes in. But there are different theories. So somebody who believes that it's given immediately on conception, abortion is a sin because you are destroying a person. But somebody who believes that only in the 9th month, destroying that body is not a sin because you are only destroying mass without soul, And somebody who believes only when infant baptism, even killing the baby before infant baptism is not a sin because you are only killing like a rabbit or like anything else, it's physical body, that sort of. So that is the creationism. Creationism denies the fact that human souls had existence in Adam or in any other, human parent. Creationist holds that God on the 6th day created 2 human individuals, one male and one female, and in them also created the specific physical nature from which the bodies of all the subsequent individuals were procreated. However, the soul in each instance being a new soul created ex nihilo and infused into this propagated body. So that doctrine is called creationism, This view was held by Aristotle. If you know who is Aristotle, everybody knows. The great Greek philosopher. Wasn't Aristotle the teacher of Alexander the Great? Yes, he was. And it was also embraced by great,